So the first full press conference on the first full day of government for Mr. Starmer, he seemed, it has to be said, quite relaxed. He's often been accused of being robotic, but clearly the media training, amongst other things, is paying off. So importantly, although this was dominated by the issue of prisons, Rwanda was a very important part of this press conference. The Prime Minister was asked by a British journalist about the Rwanda scheme. That is the scheme about processing and sending back people who have come here illegally across from France, northern shores of France, in small embarkations, made it to Britain, and who are then would be processed and sent on deportation flights to Rwanda. It's important to point out that nobody, except one person who did it voluntarily, has been sent, but it's cost really millions of pounds already being paid by the British government to Rwanda. So what the Prime Minister was asked is it dead and buried now that you've been elected? Keir Starmer said, and I quote, "The scheme was dead and buried before it started." He said that it never acted as a deterrent, and he pointed, in fact, to the record number of small boat arrivals this year and in previous years. So a very clear message that that policy, very much wanted, originally wanted by Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister, and very much tried to be carried out by Rishi Sunak, and as I said, not one single person being sent out on a deportation flight because of all kinds of legal appeals, that is dead and buried, and it was never a deterrent, says this Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Wow, so a clear message about that Rwanda asylum plan. What else have we been hearing from Keir Starmer?
Well, this was a press conference that was really dominated by the terrible state in which British prisons are. They are overcrowded. There is very little space for any new prisoners to go into them. And interestingly, Mr. Starmer, when he was asked about taking tough decisions, was he ready to make them and make them early in this first news conference at Downing Street? The PM said prisons are, quote, broken, but added there was no overnight solution to a shortage of prison spaces in the UK. So this is clearly something that he is going to be working on very carefully. Of course, he'll be flying off to NATO, which he was talking about. He was mentioning the many international phone calls and exchanges that he's had. He's had one, for example, with the French President Emmanuel Macron, who rang to congratulate him on winning the election and becoming the new UK Prime Minister. He's had a conversation with certainly Joe Biden, the American president, with President Zelensky of Ukraine, with the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and others. And clearly he mentioned that he was looking forward to meeting other leaders in Washington. I asked then, after the press conference, his senior press spokesperson whether there were going to be bilaterals. We're going to get information about that, but we haven't got it yet. Interestingly, let me come back to that. Here we are, an international news channel broadcasting in French, English, Arabic and Spanish around the world, France 24. I was seated in the front row, right in front of Mr. Starmer, who I met a few years ago. He actually stuck to the list of names from the British press. Just as he was about to go, I said, an international question? He turned around, hesitated, and then actually didn't take the question. But I have good hope that at his next press conference he will take a question from an international journalist, the way it is done in France, for example, at presidential press conferences by the British press.